Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Morning Shot.
Welcome to Morning Shot. The Singapore co-op movement is set to mark its centennial milestone in 2025. But turning the clock back just a little, you'd probably remember the high-profile Income-Allianz saga that took place in the last quarter of 2024, one that led to the Singapore government's unprecedented intervention and a swift amendment of the Insurance Act. That incident sparked widespread debates about the relevance and role of co-ops in Singapore. For more insights on that, we're joined by Ang Hin Kee, CEO of the Singapore National Co-operative Federation. Mr. Ang, good morning and welcome to Money FM.
Hey, good morning, Audrey. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for joining us to explain what could be quite a complex topic. So let's start with the fundamentals for our listeners. Income was initially a co-op before it was corporatized. So first off, could you explain what a co-op is and how it differs from other types of entities like charities or traditional businesses?
Same, but different actually. So for a business entity that is out to make profit, the co-op is similar with them because the cooperative needs to have a viable business model. It needs to make money. And from the money that it makes, it generates the necessary revenue to share with its members and the community. But the different part is that compared to a business entity, the co-op seek to do good through competing the marketplace, which means that you don't have a big shareholder that influence the decision of the co-op and say, okay, let's exit this territory, let's move to somewhere that's more profitable. The co-op, each member has one vote, and they will decide what is fair and what is good for the community. But when you compare a cooperative to a charity, for example, the charity seeks to do good as well. However, the charity does not have a business model. So charity depends on fundraising, depends on a donation in order to do good. Whereas a co-op will say that, yeah, I'm going to do good through making it a viable model in the marketplace that generates me the profit to do good. That's where the same and different part comes in.
Yeah, that was a great explanation. Thanks for that. So now let's get into the government's swift intervention in the wake of the Income-Allianz saga. That was unprecedented. So do you believe it was necessary? And what does it say about how the regulatory landscape for co-ops is evolving in Singapore?
Well, the cooperative has been in Singapore for, by this year, 100 years in total. But the recent years, the limelight has been stolen by another new phenomena that people call social enterprise. And social enterprise in Singapore context is not quite a legal entity. It comprises cooperative, charity, sole proprietor who promises to do good. So that itself has taken on conversation that people are familiar with, and cooperative seems to be something that sounded a bit from the previous generation. So the entire saga about income actually brought to the forefront the role of cooperative and its part that it plays in trying to impact the society in a positive manner. So cooperatives is bounded by the Act. As you have mentioned, there's a Cooperative Society Act, and in that Act, the co-op seek to say, okay, let's comply with the rules that government set aside. Let's be able to be accountable to members and society. And when you look at it, most of the time when things are going well, people will think that regulations are too tight. When there's a crisis, people feel that the regulations are necessary. So people vary their appreciation of the law based on the circumstances that surrounds it. So in our context, we prefer that you don't start everything with the law. You start with understanding perhaps there's some advisory to be given, and then you set some standards. And then if things don't go that direction, then you probably put in place a law. So the way we look at the entire income episode is it is necessary to understand what the co-op plays in the society, how the co-op contributes to the social compact, and we have been, in a way, affirmed by the fact that there are so many in the society, so many in the media, so many in the academia.
Let's continue the conversation then. We know that more and more co-ops have become corporatized over time. So what do you think is holding back or inhibiting the growth of co-ops here in Singapore? Does this trend suggest that the co-op movement is facing a deeper crisis?
Oh, as in any entities in Singapore, whether you be the political entities, sports, clan association, there's always a competition for talent and there's a competition for attention. And earlier I mentioned the one that captures most people's attention over the recent year has been this concept of the social enterprise. And so Co-operative recognize the need to reintroduce ourselves to the community, to be able to affirm that the youth can use a cooperative model to engage and do good and provide support for the community the way they want to. So it is natural process whereby as you go over 100 years, there will be new competition, and I believe that the cooperative ready to face up to that challenge and will take advantage of the recent limelight about what the role of the co-op and the recognition that the society have of its social impact to try to do more and expand the role of co-op in the Singapore community.
Yeah, so speaking of reaffirming the model, this past August, the government rolled out a $1 million fund to support co-ops in strengthening their community efforts. Would you say that fiscal issues or finances are one of the biggest challenges for co-ops? Is the co-op model still a viable structure in today's business environment?
Well, you see, co-ops exist to first serve their members. So when we approach the government to say, we want to do something beyond our members, we want to do more to serve the community, and we're prepared to put in some money, with the government prepared to match the money. And when the government saw that the co-op wanted to reach out to the community to empower different part of the community to build resilience, they were happy to contribute that. So in a way, it multiplied our resources, enabled us to do more. So if you recall, back in 2022, we had a mini crisis in Singapore. There was a sudden shortage of chicken. And then what the government relied on was the NTUC fair price store of chilled chicken to assure public that do not worry, there's always enough stock. And this stock is provided by the cooperative in the way that the co-op took the real estate bill, the utility costs, the manpower costs, and they didn't have stock only available for 1 month, 2 months, but it was for the entire year. So to a large extent, I think co-op put social mission before its business consideration, and if you had shareholders and board members, they would definitely objected to that because that is an additional business cost. So therein lies the role of a community-centric goal of a cooperative. Now, is it still viable in today's business model? I would love to think that everything in Singapore is operated on a profit model or on a charity model, because you do need to have a complement of the different models to enable us to have a balance of approaches that we so desire in Singapore.
Some great points there, Mr. Ang. And also Singapore's Co-operative Societies Act also plays a critical role in registering and regulating co-op societies. Are there specific aspects of this framework that you feel need to be looked into or maybe updated to help co-ops thrive in the future?
I spoke to a few cooperatives and I asked them, why did you register yourself as a cooperative? There are inhibitions and rules that you have to follow under the Co-op Society Act. Wouldn't it be better you operate as a business, a sole proprietor, or as a charity? And many of them come back to say that these laws are in place for me to assure my members that we are above board and we govern fairly, and we are monitored by and supervised by a set of laws. So it's a very strange phenomenon whereby laws enable businesses such as cooperatives to hold themselves accountable to one another. Now, is the law too inhibitive? Is it restricting certain growth? I would believe that we need to make some provision in a way, sort of a sandbox provision for youth in the campuses to start a co-op without having to comply with all the regulations until such time their business model is proven to be viable. So that is something that we will want to pursue with the authorities to see let's look at how to empower or enthuse our youth without having a string of regulations to begin with. And let's monitor their progress. Let's give the necessary assistance so that they have a stake in the social mission, the social work, and the social compact that they can contribute to.
All right, Mr. Ang, you also mentioned that we are approaching the 100th anniversary of Singapore's co-op movement. So before we let you go, do you think significant reforms are necessary to maintain the relevance of co-ops? And what role should the government play in ensuring their sustainability?
Recently I saw a news report that says more are falling into credit card debt, defer payments, suffering high interest rates. When you enter the credit card debt, the bank can charge up to 30% per year for interest and late charges. So the report also go on to say that the rollover balances hit a high of 7.9 billion in the third quarter of 2024. And many people are chalking out more debts and unsecured debt. Now, what has this got to do with the co-op in its 100 years? Co-op also have a credit function which it gives out loan and to their members. And many a times when members enter into financial difficulties, the co-op approach it with compassion. They support the members. They understand why they are in debt. They help them plan for their finances. They manage the loan. And they try to see in what ways can the financial difficulties be overcome without having to charge you the 30% interest rate and the late charges and perhaps even haul you to court to make you a bankrupt. So the compassion that the co-op put into the constitution member is something that in this 100-year celebration, we want to continue to expand and let people know about the importance of having such option in Singapore. Secondly, we also want to be able to identify what are the areas that we need to venture into in the next century moving forward. Are there gaps in the society? We are looking at a lot of delivery riders, platform workers. There must certainly be issues and concern that the co-op can play a significant part to be able to support these communities. And last but not least, I think what is needed is we need to go and compete for fresh perspective, fight for the best talent in Singapore, ensure that we have the necessary pipeline of people with the correct environment so that this option of having a co-op to complement what we need in this community will forever be safeguarded.
Well, continuing and expanding the compassion, filling gaps in society, and getting fresh perspective as we reflect on a century of the cooperative movement in Singapore, it's clear that ensuring their relevance will require balancing tradition and innovation. Thank you so much, Mr. Ang, for sharing your insights with us today.
You're most welcome. Have a great day.
You too. We've been speaking with Ang Hin Kee, CEO of the Singapore National Co-operative Federation. Stay ahead with Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.